Are you ready for a story that will completely change your perspective on financial karma? Today I'm going to tell you how a greedy boss who stole over $180,000 from his own employees lost absolutely everything to the most honest employee he ever had. This isn't just a revenge story. It's a powerful lesson about how financial dishonesty always finds its way back to haunt us. And the ending? You won't believe it. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, because this story has twists that will leave you speechless. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the incredible karma stories I post every week. Our story takes place in Seattle, at a small accounting firm called Peterson and Associates. Meet Mark Peterson, a 45-year-old man who inherited this company from his father 10 years ago. Mark always lived in his father's shadow, a man respected in the community for ethical business practices. But Mark had a completely different mindset. For him, money was power, and power should be gained at any cost. On the other side, we have David Garcia, a 38-year-old accountant who had worked at Peterson and Associates for 15 years. David was known for three things: his impeccable honesty, his absolute dedication to work, and his impressive financial discipline. While other colleagues spent their salaries on new cars and expensive vacations, David lived modestly, religiously saving 25% of his income every month. He had a dream: one day to open his own accounting firm, built on values his immigrant father taught him: hard work, honesty, and always doing the right thing. David didn't know that his boss was about to test those values in a way he could never imagine. It all started subtly in 2020. Mark discovered a clever way to increase his profits: small deductions from employee salaries that no one would notice immediately. The scheme worked like this: Mark slightly altered the electronic time tracking system, reducing 15 to 30 minutes from each employee's worked hours per week. It might seem small, but multiplied by 12 employees over 2 years, we're talking about more than $85,000 just in unpaid hours. But Mark didn't stop there. He created fictitious administrative fees that were deducted monthly from salaries. Payroll processing fee, $35. Benefits maintenance fee, $25. Company equipment usage fee, $40. None of these fees actually existed. It was money going straight into Mark's pocket. And the cruelest part? He was doing this to employees who trusted him completely, people who worked overtime without complaining, who missed weekends with family to meet deadlines. David began to notice the first real discrepancies only in early 2022, almost 2 years after Mark had started the scheme in 2020. Since Mark had been introducing changes gradually and always with convincing justifications, it took time for a clear pattern to emerge. Even being meticulous with finances, David initially accepted the explanations from the boss he had trusted for over a decade. And Mark was convincing. He showed fake documents, cited non-existent laws, always with that confident smile that said, "Trust me, I understand these things better than you do." During those 2 years, Mark stole a total of $180,600 from his employees. Money that should have been paying mortgages, funding children's education, building retirement funds. Instead, it was financing Mark's luxury lifestyle. With this stolen money, Mark bought an $85,000 BMW X7, renovated his house adding a $45,000 swimming pool, and even took a 3-week trip to Europe with his family. This is where David's meticulous personality becomes crucial. In December 2021, David was preparing his tax return when something didn't add up. He had calculated that, with his base salary plus overtime, he should have earned about $78,000 that year. But his pay stubs totaled only $71,400. A difference of $6,600. For most people, this would be reason for a conversation with HR. But David was an accountant. He knew that discrepancies like this don't happen by chance. During the year-end holidays, while Mark was skiing in Aspen with stolen money, David spent his free days doing something that would change everything: a complete audit of his own payments from the past 2 years. David discovered a pattern. The deductions started small in January 2020, but gradually increased. More importantly, they didn't correspond to any official change in company policy or labor legislation. Before I continue with this shocking discovery, tell me, from which city and country are you watching this video? Write it in the comments. I'm always curious to know where our listeners are around the world. And if you're enjoying this financial karma story, leave a like to help me reach more people. But David didn't stop at his own situation. Using his access to the company systems, access that Mark had given him because he trusted his loyalty, David began investigating other employees' payments. What he discovered was shocking. All 12 employees were being robbed. Sarah from reception was losing $89 per month. Tom from the legal department, $127. Lisa, the accounts manager, $156 monthly. In total, Mark was stealing $1,847 per month just in fake fees, not counting the manipulated hours. But the most devastating discovery came when David accessed the company's tax records. Mark wasn't just stealing from employees, he was evading taxes on a massive scale. This is where David showed that honesty and intelligence are the most powerful combination that exists. Instead of going directly to authorities or confronting Mark, David developed a plan that was simultaneously legal, ethical, and devastatingly effective. First, David began documenting everything meticulously. He created detailed spreadsheets showing exactly how much each employee had lost. He photographed documents, saved emails, recorded conversations where Mark admitted to the administrative changes. But David was thinking much further ahead. He knew that exposing Mark would destroy the company where he had worked for 15 years. All employees would lose their jobs. Clients would be left without an accountant. It was a situation with no winners. So David had a brilliant idea. Why not create a solution that would punish Mark, compensate the employees, and protect the clients? During the first 6 months of 2022, while continuing to work normally and being robbed monthly, David used his 15 years of savings, about $180,000 he had religiously saved, to discreetly open his own accounting firm. David did everything right. He legally registered the company, obtained all necessary licenses, rented a small office across town, and began developing a business plan based on something revolutionary: total transparency and honesty. The genius of David's plan was his patience. He knew Mark would eventually be caught, but he wanted to be ready to offer an immediate alternative for clients and employees. In July 2022, David began subtly connecting with Peterson and Associates' main clients. Not to steal business, but to build relationships based on genuine trust. When client Johnson mentioned concerns about some inconsistencies in his financial reports prepared by Mark, David offered a free second opinion. When Mrs. Williams said she was confused about some deductions Mark had suggested, David patiently explained the real tax implications. David never directly criticized Mark or actively tried to steal clients. Instead, he simply demonstrated what honest and competent accounting service looked like. In October 2022, David was finally ready. He had documented 2.5 years of fraud, had established solid relationships with 8 of Mark's 12 main clients, and had a functioning company ready to grow. David made 2 phone calls on the same day. The first was to the Internal Revenue Service, reporting systematic tax evasion at Peterson and Associates. The second was to the State Labor Department, reporting large-scale wage theft. But David didn't stop there. He called a meeting with all employees and presented his findings. Each person received a detailed spreadsheet showing exactly how much had been stolen from them. The reaction was shock, anger, and then gratitude. Because David wasn't just exposing the problem, he was offering a solution. David offered immediate employment to all employees at his new company, Garcia and Associates, with salaries 20% higher than what they should have been receiving at Peterson. More importantly, he committed to paying back the stolen money using profits from the new company. The consequences for Mark were swift and devastating. The Internal Revenue Service audit revealed tax evasion of $847,000 over 5 years. Fines and interest totaled $1.3 million. The Labor Department ordered immediate payment of $180,600 in stolen wages, plus $95,000 in interest and penalties. But the final blow came from the clients. In less than 2 weeks, 10 of Mark's 12 main clients switched to Garcia and Associates. They didn't just want a more honest accountant, they wanted to work with someone who had demonstrated integrity even in difficult circumstances. Mark lost literally everything. He had to sell the house, the BMW, cancel vacation plans. He declared personal and business bankruptcy in December 2022. Today, 3 years later, Garcia and Associates is 3 times larger than Peterson and Associates ever was. David employs 25 people, including all of Mark's former employees, and is known in Seattle's business community as the most trustworthy accountant in the region. David used the first significant profits to create the Business Integrity Fund, a program that offers free consulting to small business owners who suspect dishonest practices in their companies. Mark? He now works as an administrative assistant at an insurance company, earning $28,000 per year. He lost his accounting license, his reputation, and most importantly, he lost the trust of everyone who knew him. This story teaches us 3 fundamental lessons about financial karma. First, dishonesty may seem profitable in the short term, but always has a devastating price in the long term. Second, integrity isn't just doing the right thing when it's easy, it's doing the right thing when it's difficult, expensive, and no one is watching. Third, true success comes from building real value for other people, not from taking advantage of them. If you're facing a similar situation at work, remember, document everything, plan carefully, and always build your wealth on solid foundations of honesty and hard work. Financial karma is real, inevitable, and always more creative than any dishonest scheme. The question isn't whether it will act, it's when and how. And you? Have you ever experienced a financial karma situation? If this karma story inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this. Hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post a new story. And look, I've already prepared other financial karma stories that will leave you speechless. Click on the cards appearing on screen now to watch.